Yeah. Hello everyone. Today I will be taking you through some important logical reasoning puzzles which are a part of these campus recruitment examination. Most of the times, many of these companies, they ask you questions wherein you are supposed to count the number of squares, number of line segments, number of triangles, number of rectangles in a figure that is being given to you. Now this figure can be a symmetrical or a non-symmetrical figure. Like let's say for example, there is a figure in front of you which is a 6 by 6 grid. It's a 6 by 6 grid, unlike a chessboard which is a 8 by 8 grid. So if the simple question is that how many squares are there in this 6 by 6 grid? So there can be different answers that you can end up getting, but there is a shortcut to solving this kind of a question. So without wasting much of our time, I can directly tell you what is how do you solve this. So if you assume the side of this smaller square to be of 1 unit, then number of so this is of 1 unit each. So in that case you have squares of side 1 by 1, squares of side 2 by 2, squares of side 3 by 3, then 4 by 4, then 5 by 5, and eventually the bigger one which is 6 by 6. So if I start counting the number of squares of side 1 by 1, I know there are 6 this side and 6 this side, so it will come out to be 6 square, which is 36. So number of squares of sides 1 by 1 will be 36. Now if I want to count the number of squares of side 2 by 2, so if I want to count it this side, so at times students do a mistake of counting it 1, 2 and 3. So my dear, they are not 3, they are 5, because the way you will have to count it is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So that means there are 5 squares of side 2 by 2 this side and 5 this side. So it will be number of squares of side 2 by 2 will be 5 square, which is 25. Similarly, if I want to count the number of squares of side 3 by 3, there are not 2, this and this is wrong. It will be 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it is 3 by 3 which will come out to be 4 square, then 4 by 4 which will be 3 square, 5 by 5 which will be 2 square, and eventually the bigger one which is 6 by 6 which will be 1 square. So addition of these numbers from 1 square to till 6 square will give you the number of squares, total number of squares in this 6 by 6 grid. Now you can manually count this, or if you remember that when we were in school in class 11th, we have studied that sum of squares of first n natural number. I am talking about sum of squares, not sum of first n natural number, is given by n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 by 6. Now as we want to find the sum of squares from 1 square till 6 square, the value of n is 6. So this is 6 into 7 into 13 by 6. If you solve this will come out to be equal to 71. Now this can be a symmetrical or a non-symmetrical figure, as I told you. So if the question comes out to be, let's find the number of squares in a chessboard. You know, chessboard is a 8 by 8 grid. So in that case probably we'll have squares of side 1 by 1 which will be from 8 this side and 8 this side, which will be 8 square. 2 by 2 will be 7 square, 3 by 3 will be 6 square, 4 by 4 will be 5 square, and so on and so forth. So in that case, if I want to find the number of squares in a chessboard, it will be from 8 square, 7 square, 6 square, 5 square, 4 square, 3 square, 2 square and 1 square. So addition of this will give you your answer. So rather than adding it manually, I'll advise you to again use this formula wherein the value of n is 8. So this is 8 into 9 into 17 by 6. So your answer will come out to be equal to 204. So as an engineer, when you are preparing for companies which are coming for campus hiring, if you are not well versed with solving these kind of questions, or if you don't know the direct answer to it, then your preparation is not up to the mark. So there are certain things which is a basic hygiene. So I call this, knowing this or solving these kind of questions, is basic hygiene in doing these kind of things. Now as I told you that this is a symmetrical figure. Let's say if my figure was not symmetrical, it would have been something of this kind. Let's say rather than making it a 6 by 6 grid, if I would have made it a 6 by 7 grid, then there will be not much of a change in it, because then in that case, if you look at finding out number of squares of side 1 by 1, there are 7 this side and 6 this side. So this will become 7 into 6. So squares of side 2 by 2 will be, if I start counting it, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. It will be 6 by 5, because this side you will have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now it's plug and play. You can now make it 5 and make it 4. You can then 4 by 4 will be 4 into 3, then 5 by 5 will be 3 into 2, and 6 by 6 will be 2 into 1. If you add this up, you'll end up getting your answer.